You know, there is no truer, rawer, more unfiltered form of attraction than physical attraction. That's why a lot of us will never know true love. That's why a lot of us will never know what it's like to truly be or have a woman be attracted to us, be in love with us, be obsessed with us, be about us 100% because we're not physically attractive enough to have that. Um, a lot of red pillars, a lot of normie type of people, they'll go into these long talks about, as a man, you need to be of a certain status, you need to be at a certain level financially, you need to be well known around your community, you need to have a PhD, you need to have a business, you need to be an influencer, you gotta have clout. And they'll say that those are the keys to having a woman be attracted to you and be in love with you. But I call BS on that. Are there women out there who will fall in love with you for your position? I don't think so. I don't think they'll fall in love. I think they might like the position you're in and they might see if they could attach themselves to it. But I don't think it's real attraction. I don't think it's real. I don't think a woman's going to see you with a business and her panties are going to get really drenched and she's going to have a fever for you. She's going to want to, she's going to dream of you. She's going to touch herself to sleep that night because of you because she saw you in a position of power. I don't think that's the reason. We all know the story of Jeremy Meeks. We all know about Richard Ramirez and Ted Bundy. These guys who were complete and utter scum, yet women found them to be physically attractive and there was a genuine raw attraction there towards them. Right? And we all know a couple of manlit sub 5 guys in our real life who are status maxed and they're getting used by women, they're getting taken advantage by women. Maybe they got married to a woman, they lasted 2 years married. Now she's taking them to the cleaners. She's keeping the house. She's fucking Pookie in the house. She's fucking Chad Rodriguez in the house. She's fucking Chad in the house. She's got the sub 5 guy in alimony and that guy is over there beating his head up like, what I do wrong? What I do wrong, man? I loved her. I loved her. I truly loved her. I can't believe she really left me. The reason she left you, bro, is because there was no physical, raw, natural attraction, bro. That's the purest form. When people talk about, oh, when you're a Chad, women only like you because of your looks, man. It's not even real. It's like, that's as real as it's going to get, you dummy. You really think a girl liking you because you're a business owner is any more real than her liking you because you're attractive? It's not. It's all superficial. Even if you were to get a girl thanks to being of a certain status, thanks to being in a certain position, thanks to being significantly financially above her, and you could change her bum life and you could change the bum life of all her siblings and change her dad's bum life. Her dad is a porch sitter. All he does is just sitting on a porch and scratch his balls. And, you marry this girl and you change his life. You think that she's going to love you because of that. She's not, bro. She's only using you. She's only taking advantage of you. That's what's happening with a lot of these passport bros, that they go to, these white guys, they go to the Philippines and they're talking about, Maria really loves me. She really loves me, man. These Southeast Asian girls, they're real. They're feminine. It's all an act. They only like you because they have to put up with you. It's a job for them. That's something a lot of the first world mind can't comprehend. They can't comprehend that a lot of third world women, you are their job. The same way you have to tolerate your boss, the same way you have to tolerate your coworkers, the same way you have to tolerate customers at the job is the same way a lot of these third world women have to tolerate these first world men who go and think they are genuinely in love with them. It's just a show. It's smoke and mirrors. It's just it's a job, man. It's a job for them. That's why I'm of the belief that if no woman could ever find you attractive in the first world, no woman in the third world or below are ever going to find you attractive. I'm currently in Mexico. I'm originally from LA, but I'm staying in Mexico. I've been here for almost a year, and I've had no interactions with women where they find me to be physically attractive. I've had no interactions with women that they act in a way that shows to me that they're attracted to me. Why? Because there's no raw physical attraction. People could say, "Hey, bro, flex your passport." You don't think they could notice? They all know that I'm from the States. They all know that I'm from LA. And you best believe a lot of those girls probably dream of going to LA, but just being with me to get to LA is not something they see themselves doing. There isn't enough physical attraction for her to even want to be with me enough to get to LA. Let me tell you guys something that's probably gonna hurt you guys. Even to be a sugar daddy, even to be a geomaxer, even to be this guy who tricks off on women, you have to be you have to reach a certain level of looks. Most women don't even want the money off some ugly sub-5 guy. They really don't. They're not willing to give you any sugar for that money. Most women will take advantage of you as a sub-5, and they'll take your money, but they won't give you anything. So don't expect to get any puss. Don't expect to get any fellatio. Don't expect to achieve coitus. Don't expect to be able to rub one out and get one off on her. You won't. Because even though they want your money, they still have to have a certain level of physical attraction to you to want to give up that box. So, like I said, there's no more genuine raw attraction than physical attraction. A woman is willing to do anything for a man she finds physically attractive. If a woman finds you to be physically attractive, she will sneak out of her house. She will sneak you into her house. If she's living with her parents and her, she's like 20 something and her dad's telling her, "I don't want no one over," but she finds you to be physically attractive enough, she'll open the window for you at 3 a.m. and you could sneak in through the window, lay it down. Those are the things that only good-looking men get to experience. You know what they say, for Chad, she breaks the rules, and for sub-5, she makes rules. That's true. If you're a sub-5 guy and you're dating some girl and she's telling you, "We got to wait till marriage. We got to wait till marriage, sub-5." Guess what? You best believe she's taking it dirty, damp, and deep from Chad at the moment. Like women, bro, women aren't going to go without sex, bro. You really think women are going to go without sex in 2025? You really think that girl that you like, the girl that you talk to, maybe the girl you met out the park, the girl you met at your job, you really think she's going without sex? You really think she's going without coitus? You're a bloody fool if you think that. The only reason you believe that is because you're not physically attractive enough to know what a woman is willing to do. Women are willing to cheat, man. Women are willing to cheat on their husband if you are physically attractive enough. And obviously, I'm not saying and telling you guys go, smash married women. No, that comes with its own trouble. The guy might come home early, see you laying up with his wife, grab the Glock, launch projectiles at you. Now you're in a coffin. But what I'm saying is, if you're not physically attractive enough, you're never gonna know true love. A woman will only be obsessed with a man if she truly loves his DNA. A woman will only really want to bring your child into this world if she is obsessed with your genetics. And if she's not obsessed with your genetics, she probably will go down to Planned Parenthood, set up an appointment, have your bastard baby ripped out of her belly and chopped up into little pieces like a piece of chicken. There's plenty of guys out here who, I'm not going to name drop, but, there's plenty of guys who I've heard and they have stories about a girl. They smashed the girl, they had coitus with the woman. He released life seed. The life seed did the dance with the life egg, and it created, a little baby, a little embryo. And because they're not physically attractive enough, the woman doesn't find them physically attractive enough, and the woman isn't obsessed with his genetics. You know what they did? They killed his baby. They went down to and got an abortion. There's YouTubers who's talked about that. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna name drop, but there's more than one that I've heard say that. And that just proves to me that if a woman isn't really, if that raw genetic obsession isn't there from a woman, you're never gonna know that true love, and you're never gonna know what it's like for a woman to truly love your child. And as unfortunate as it's gonna sound, those poor babies who got aborted because the woman didn't find the dad to be genetically sufficient. They're probably better off being aborted. I'm not going to lie, because if a woman doesn't find the father of her child to be genetically adept or genetically sufficient, she will give the child a life of hell. Some of you guys probably have had, your mom be a piece of crap to you because she wasn't obsessed with your father's genetics. The reason your mother probably hated you or hates you is because your father wasn't genetically she wasn't genetically attracted to your father. Your father's genetics weren't enough to get her moist, and therefore she associates you with inferiority, and she hates you because of that. If a woman, why do you think women will get impregnated by bums? Good looking bums, and they'll love that kid, man. They'll love their little Pookie. They'll love their little Edgar. They'll love their little Cody. Why? Because the woman, the mother, has raw attraction towards the father. It's not about money, It's never been about money. It hasn't been about money for the last, I'd say, 80 years, man. Probably the last time it was about money, the last time it was about stability was probably pre-World War I. That was probably the last time a woman got with a man because of his status and his finances. And even women who did get with men later on after World War I, they just divorced them. And this goes for all cultures. You'll see people from freaking, sub-Saharan Africa getting divorced. It's like those people are doing it now too. Because it's like the world as the world moves on, as there's more food, as there's more, as more abundance begins to be created, women have less and less incentive to find men attractive, specifically because of their wealth, specifically because of their status, specifically because of their position. And women would rather have coitus with a good-looking janitor than have coitus with the ugly CEO. That's why, if you're a guy and you're telling yourself like, I gotta level up, man, I gotta achieve CEO status, just know you're never gonna get that raw attraction. A lot of guys, they talk about the bag. I gotta achieve the bag, man. The bag is gonna save me, man. There's nothing you could do without the bag, the bag, the bag. That's cope. If a woman truly likes you, if a woman truly loves you, she will level you up. She will take your bum ass in, and she will harbor you and level you up. But that's only if she finds you genetically attractive. That's only if she sees genetic potential in you, right? That's why, like I said, if you're not a good looking guy, you're never going to know true love. And even if you were to find a woman who's hungry enough to get with your ugly ass for money, like I said, as soon as she gets the money, as soon as she's leveled up her people, that's the thing that happens with a lot of these Filipino women. They got their drunk little brother, they got their single mom sister, and they got their broke dad and their broke mom, and they get these Todds. Hello, I'm Todd. I'm Todd from Connecticut. Hello, Mr. Lau. Hello, Mr. Mang. Hello, I'm here to meet your daughter. And you got these white guys, they go to Thailand and they think these Thailandese women really like them, and as soon as they level up their bum family, they're gonna, as soon as Todd parts ways with all his wealth, and the brother finally stopped drinking, and the sister, she's finally built a little room for her bastard kid, and her dad finally has a new pair of shoes, and her mom finally has a new pair of freaking underwear and stuff. As soon as that happens, Todd is going to get kicked to the curb. That Filipino woman's going to go over there with Chad Pre or Chang or whoever it is she's been fucking. That's why don't be these guys that think that third world women are anything different. Like, oh, hey man, you heard about Eastern Europe? Hey man, those Eastern European women. You best believe they're fucking Dimitri. Dimitri is over there. You're over here in the States working hard. Stacking up your bread at work. I'm in love. Love prevails, doing all this blue pill stuff. And Dimitri's over there, he's drunk off vodka. He's got no job. You're sending all these remittances over there to these third world women. You're going over to freaking Dolex and I need to send $300 to Russia. Dimitri is going to go over there and he's going to buy a bottle of vodka. He's going to lay it down. He's going to fill her up with Life Seed. And, they're going to chew away all your remittance money, bro. There's no, physical attraction is as raw and as pure as it's going to get. The most pure love you'll ever have is if a woman loves to look at your face. If a woman is just obsessed with your face, obsessed with your bone structure, obsessed with your voice, your Candace of your voice, which is all genetic, that's the only way you're going to know true love. These guys who talk about status, who talk about money and the bag, they're all fools. They're all guys that are coping, and I feel bad for them, man. That's why I try to get these messages out there, because I really want you guys to see that there is no more raw attraction than physical attraction. Why do you think, if any of you guys have ever had any little love, any little booty call or something like that, it was never because of your money. And you know that. And if you've had anything like that in the comments, put it down there. It's all because of the girl liked your genetics. It's all because the girl liked your face. Right? And, if you're this guy that you did get a girl because of your status, you did get a girl because, hey, man, she saw something in me, man. I was the manager at the store, man. You can't ever let that status fall. You're one fail away. If you're a guy that got a girl off status, you're one slip up away from her leaving your monkey ass. This past weekend, Canelo and Crawford had a boxing match, right? And everybody, I think Canelo lost, and everybody was posting these I'm not a boxing guy, but I mean, it's just such a big event that you can't escape it. But everybody was posting damn, Canelo's washed, Canelo lost, They're posting memes about them being angry that Canelo lost and all that. And that just proves to me that if you're a guy and the only reason you're loved is because of your status or your position or some sort of action that you do, as soon as you fail, as soon as you don't win, it's all over. Why do you think you'll see these guys? You'll see these washed up dudes who had multi-million-dollar blue-collar businesses, and they're not that attractive. And they go on about how, man, as soon as my business started failing, the wife left me, man. She took the house, man. And, they all fall into alcoholism, and they fall off into these tirades about, women are trash, man. Don't get married. Why do you think Facebook and all these boomer type of social medias are full of those guys? Those washed up dudes that only had the woman because of the status. And as soon as the status wore off, the wife left him. Because it wasn't raw attraction. But why do you think somebody like Jeremy Meeks or somebody like Henry Cavill or just good-looking guys in general, they could get away with being bums. They could get away with taking days off work. They could get away without having any real position in life, because guess what? That raw genetic attraction is not going anywhere. Unless, if Jeremy Meeks, if somebody threw acid on Jeremy Meeks' face and he became a mutant and a disfigured, defective freak, then maybe that billionaire wife might drop him. But if that's not happening, then he ain't going anywhere, right? Because that raw attraction is there. If you're not a good looking guy, you'll never know true love. All these chads who claim that they know true love And, they talk about, oh, I know true love, man. It's all about confidence. The reason you know true love, Chad, is because of your looks, man. It doesn't matter how hard Black Ops 2 sell, Status Maxes. I mean, I would go as far to say Black Ops 2 sell probably has as much clout as a lot of these pretty boys do, but there's not that physical attraction. Why do you think you'll see a lot of these guys on the community? They've been at it for 3 to 4 years, and no women hit them up. I've been doing this for God knows how long, and I've never had a woman hit me up talking about, oh, I'm obsessed with you, I like you, your message, your words, your passion. Turns me on, it gets me wet. I've never had any of that. But you best believe, if I was to be a guy that's good looking, a Chad, and I was to post one video of me saying, "Sup, bitch," you best believe my comment section would be full of, "Oh my God, you're so hot. Get to know me, please. Marry me. DM me. This is my Instagram." But guess what? That's not me. So I could sit here and I could continue to spew on for the next 10 to 15 years about my philosophy and my beliefs, and people could agree with me, and I could continue to gain subscribers. I could continue to gain views. I could continue to gain likes and view time, and that won't do a goddamn thing because it's never been about status. It hasn't been about status for over 100 years. It hasn't even been about survival. We haven't had any real famine, any real starvation in large parts of the world for probably 200 years. So why would a woman be with you because you have a fridge full of meat? Oh man, I got a freezer full of deer meat. That maybe that got you a woman 200 years ago, 300 years ago. But you best believe a freezer full of deer meat isn't gonna get you shit in today's world. Because it's all about looks. It's all about raw attraction. The reason you guys don't know true love is because you're not attractive enough to know true love. You have to be a good looking guy to know true love, man. True love only comes to true, real good looking guys. And why do you think, guys like me who are not attractive, we don't even believe true love exists? Because it doesn't exist for us. That's one thing that sometimes it's hard to accept. It's not that true love doesn't exist. It's just that true love doesn't exist for you because you are ugly, because you are unattractive, because you are hideous. If you're beautiful, you will always know true love. If you're a beautiful individual, you will always know love. You will always know appreciation. You will always know what it's like to be cared for and cherished by society. And if you're a guy that banks on status, banks on clout, banks on money, you're one slip up away from all of that being taken from you. Like there's this guy that I've seen on Instagram. He's like this Indian guy, and he's really unattractive, and like he's been gaining some clout, and like all of a sudden women are like taking pictures with him and stuff, but that's it. When you're an unattractive guy that gets clout, when you're an unattractive guy that gets status, what you're going to be to women? You're going to be a picture prop. You're going to be a prop. You're going to be like women are going to want a picture with you because you're a prop. You're a character. Women want pictures with Chad because they want to touch themselves to them at night. That's why women take pictures with Chad, because they want to touch themselves at night. They want to grab their 13-inch, 14-inch girth dildo, and they want to touch themselves. But when you're an ugly guy and a woman takes a picture with you, it's because she wants to use you for status. She wants to use you for clout. So, if I like the bagel guy, Bagel Boss, right? If a woman was to want to take a picture with Bagel Boss, it's not because she finds Bagel Boss attractive. It's because Bagel Boss has some clout, and she could use this manlet for clout. She could get some extra likes thanks to this Bagel Boss guy. That's one thing a lot of guys have misunderstood. They think that if a woman wants to take a picture with them, oh, she likes me, bro. Oh, she started a conversation with me, bro. Sometimes, I had this in the past where I was like, I had a business going on, and maybe I was getting some clout thanks to the business. People knew me because of the business. And women talk to me and they hold conversations with me, it's only because of the business. It's not because of you. And as soon as the business goes under, they're going with it as well, you know. But it's, only men that are good looking will know true attraction. Only, when you have those marriage vows and they say, oh, through good and bad and through health and unhealth, and I don't even know, but they're talking about how love should be unconditional, right? That women will only uphold that vow if you're a Chad. That why do you think the divorce rate is so high? Because women won't uphold that vow if you're not good looking. Because the only way a woman will truly love you is if she's attracted to you physically. The only way a woman will stick by your side and go through thick and thin and poverty and wealth and health and health and bad health is if you are good looking enough. So just, if you're a guy and you think real love exists based off merit, based off hard work and what you achieve, you're a bloody fool and you deserve to get taken advantage of, because you're listening to me tell you that true love only exists if you're good looking. And I'm talking about really good looking. I'm talking about Chad. I'm not even talking about Chad Lights. I'm not even talking about high tier normies. I'm talking about Chad. I'm talking about Jeremy Meeks, baby. I'm talking about Henry Cavill. You know what I'm saying? I ain't talking about you got to look at him in the right lighting and he's kind of attractive. And when he does this, if you want to know if you're truly attractive, get a buzz cut. You want to know if you're a true Chad, get a buzz cut. If a woman rocks with you when you have a buzz cut, you're a true Chad. Look at Jeremy Meeks. Jeremy Meeks, they took a picture of him buzz cut as hell, bald as hell. And women still got wet. Women still fought for him. If Richard Ramirez cut off those locks, you best believe he'd probably still be getting some women. So just, don't be a fool, man. Wake up, smell the coffee, accept the brutal truth that if you're not a good looking guy, you'll never know true love, because real raw attraction only comes from physical. Everything else, spiritual, psychological, oh, we get along, we have a connection. That's all BS. It's all BS. So peace out.